Well, it looks like Pentao's soil has been cursed so that nothing will grow. And according to the Royal Magician, we need to get the Water of Life to restore it. However, after last episode, I'm not sure we should be listening to anything that guy says. It looks like we're in for another standard cave adventure, but if you give it a few minutes, well, you might be surprised. We're getting set up with Add to Life here, and Penny is equipping the new spell Meteor, which behaves pretty much exactly like Spirit Claw that we saw before. We'll be coming back to this upper door much later. It's got a boss in it, and you can either do it right here at the beginning or at the very end, and you'll see why. But I just wanted to leave a climactic encounter for later. Right now, though, here's a twitching arm on a rope. So that happened. The story mentions an adventurer who came here before us and found the Water of Life but failed to bring it back, and this must be the guy. The little blue guys in here are doppelgangers, and they're fairly easy to avoid, but they're resistant to magic and have a lot of HP, and they also have an instant death attack. We can't open either of those doors yet. The one that is blocked is kind of the ultimate goal, and the tone doors constitute the main puzzle of this adventure. But yeah, when the fighter's arm said Living Grottos of the Water of Life, he wasn't lying. We are now inside some guts. Like the other scenario-ending adventures, this has a really maze-like map. It's super easy to get lost in, and difficult to come to grips with. It's made worse because you have to solve everything here in a very particular order, and that order is not exactly clear. The first thing we have to do, though, is find the cask that the arm told us about, and it's right here in this room. You place the fighter's arm leaps into the cask. Very well done. Most of the text involving the arm is kind of hard to decipher, but he is just an arm, so give him a break. There are 3 of these tuning fork rooms, each one corresponds to a different tone, and by placing the tuning fork in one of the rooms, you unlock one of the doors, assuming that another condition has been met, which I'll get to in a minute. But since the loud tone is the first one you're supposed to do, there is no particular condition. For the most part, at least, the corresponding tone doors are pretty close to the tuning fork rooms. The loud door is just over this pit of acid. Each one of the tone doors leads to a crystal valve, which you then need to go use somewhere else. And even if you put the tuning fork in the right place, the next tone door won't open unless the previous crystal valve is also in the right place. So at this point we have to get out of the guts, place the valve, and grab the tuning fork on the way out since we'll need it again. You know, Sorcerian predated Abadox by a couple of years, but Life Force or Salamander had come out at this point. Those are the 2 main games I can think of that are set inside of a giant body. I'm sure there are others. Let me know if you can think of any. What we're doing here is turning on a muscle elevator that we'll need in a minute, and you need to turn it back on every time you come back down into the guts. It's not really stated as such, but I think the implication of the living caves is that the Water of Life is so powerful that it'll just bring anything to life, even like rock. This area is more or less the stomach. remember only that. You know, just don't remember any of that because it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, even if you've played the adventure a couple times. This right here is the elevator, though. If you haven't turned it on, it's just a solid wall. We are headed to the heart of the caves, where we're going to use the crystal valve. There are 3 slots, and each valve corresponds to a specific slot, even though they're not specifically labeled. With this done, though, we can access the next tone door and get the next valve. I turned on the status window because I fully expected somebody to get killed during this adventure. It's pretty deadly. Penny is using Deathbolt here, by the way. This is the reason that I said you could do the boss either at the beginning or the very end, because if you've got any crystal valves in the heart, then this wall of muscle is up. The other implication about the Water of Life's power is that the fighter's arm is still alive and able to communicate even though the body is missing. So it's a little creepy. It's a pretty cool spin on the Fountain of Youth concept. And Fountain of Youth is what this adventure was called in Japan. Anyway, we've activated the unclear tone, and if you remember, that was the door we tried much earlier in the adventure. This super minimal drum track is the DOS rendition of the Cave of Life theme, and it normally plays when you're fighting the fire elemental. There is a barely discernible melody there, although you will be able to hear it a little more on the final 2 bars of the song. Well, there it was. Did you hear it? On top of the instant death and the carrion crawlers that have a really high chance of poison, there's also a frozen and stoned trap. Right now we can't get through this little wall of muscle on the right. I like that the carrion crawler sprites are super accurate to first edition D&D carrion crawlers. Even the colors are exactly like the toy. Okay, that hint made sense. I'll give him that. When we insert the new valve, though, we do need to take the old one with us, or we won't be able to progress. This was kind of a major sticking point for me in test runs. Now we gotta go back, get the fork, and turn the elevator on again before we activate the 3rd and final tone door. I tried to restrict fast-forwarding to any area where we're retracing steps, and we have seen just about all of the guts at this point. As much of a pain in the ass as it was to map out the optimal route, I think this is my favorite scenario finale. The atmosphere is really cool, and the music is legitimately good. For some reason I can forgive arbitrary puzzles to a greater extent when they're tied to some kind of weird machine, or organic cave, as the case may be. Now, in this nook to the right here, there is supposed to be an herb, and I found a savory here on my test run. I don't really know why it's not here now. There must be some kind of randomization of herb locations, which is not something I've noticed until now. Well, we did end up losing somebody, but not in the way I thought we would. We'll take a moment to get back up to full strength here. So anyway, this being the final adventure of the game, the Let's Play is almost over. I will be doing some bonus content from the PC-88 versions, a couple adventures here and there across the expansions. I'll try to pick out some cool ones. We're basically in full fast-forward mode here now, haven't seen most of the map. On our way to insert the final crystal valve. Once you place the valve in the middle slot, the heart activates, and we get a music change, appropriately titled Pounding Heart. If you remember one of the hints the hand gave us a while ago about a change occurring, well, this must be what he was talking about, because now there are some new holes open in the guts, and some of the old holes have closed. Yeah, just like the hole we've been using to get into the guts the whole time is now closed, and a new one has opened here in the stomach. What we have to do now is get back to that door we tried to open way back at the beginning that said something was blocking it. So just when we might have been getting used to the layout of the maze, now we need to figure out a whole new route. Once the heart is activated though, the hidden treasures appear, and the first of them is the Gladius, which we'll get over here by the lake. That's a sword that comes pre-enchanted with Dragon Slayer, probably the best sword in the game. Makes me feel a little foolish for going to all the effort to get Shaggy Dragon Slayer, but whatever. One thing I ran into during testing, and I wasn't willing to try to replicate this for obvious reasons, but I tried to interact with one of the newly closed holes, and the game just locked up on the message window telling me that I couldn't get through. Part of the route you need to take now is to go to the Carrion Crawler room and go through that little muscle wall that used to be solid. Anyway, the crash in this quest is the only thing of that type I'd really run into during the whole Let's Play. So overall, it seems like a decently stable game. I may be mistaken or confused, but I think at this point the tuning forks don't matter, because you need to go through both the clear and unclear tone doors. The Water of Life is right up this elevator though, which is not to be confused with the other elevator. There it is, at last. I get kinda distracted by the glimmer on top of the statue, but it's not anything. There is one more treasure, and it's in the room with the cask, and in hindsight I think that I could have got there without going back to the heart and removing the valve. But I do that first anyway, just to open up all the doors again. This tune in the background is Sorcerian Super Mega Mix Part 2. It opens up with Pounding Heart, is why I'm playing it. But each of the Sorcerian Perfect Collection albums end with a Super Mega Mix, and they're all done by Ryo Yonemitsu, who did, I believe, all of the arrangements for TurboGrafx Falcom games. We got the last treasure there though, the potion. It's not really worth writing home about because it's just a resurrect potion with an ambiguous name. With the valves empty though, the muscle wall is gone, and we can fight the boss and get the hell out of here. These are the Pillar Demons, or they're called in the Japanese version the Double Devils. They just rotate up and down their pillars, and fire lasers that reflect at 45-degree angles. The color cycling beam thing in the background hurts you a little bit as well. As sort of a final boss, it's fairly anticlimactic, because they're not too dangerous. They're just kind of a pain to hit, because if they don't decide to stop and shoot their beam when they're within jumping distance of you, you have a really narrow window that you can hit them in. I really like that part of the melody there. Anyway, I jump back and forth between them for a while because it makes it a little more interesting, but once I kill one here, there's nothing to do but speed the fight up. Yep. We're just about done here anyway. Before closing the episode out, I'm going to show a short clip of a hidden character in this adventure called Falcom Man. I didn't run into him during my actual run, but I did in the test run, so I don't know what the conditions to actually get him are. I try to get Shaggy to identify him using the Monster Knowledge skill, but I just keep getting the stomach acid. He's just sort of a weird little parody of Konami Man, I guess. But that's more or less everything to see here in the Water of Life. And that's it for the Let's Play. I hope you've enjoyed it, and, oh, wait a minute. I'll see you next time when we fight Dragon.